When the number on John's screen crossed $1 million for the very first time, his wife's immediate response was to ask if he remembered to take the chicken out of the freezer. 30 years of disciplined saving built up to this exact moment, and it arrived completely indistinguishable from every other Tuesday in their kitchen. No fireworks, no champagne, just two people in their 50s thinking about dinner. For over 100 years, the word millionaire represented the ultimate finish line. It meant the yacht, the private island, lighting a cigar with a $100 bill. Our grandparents pictured a completely different species of human being when they heard that word, and that image is still stubbornly burned into our cultural memory. But look at this chart comparing the $1 million milestone to what Americans consider wealthy today. The number they give isn't $1 million, it's $2.3 million. That's the current going rate to feel rich. John won a race that he spent 3 decades running, only to discover somebody quietly relocated the trophy. The math underneath the word changed a long time ago, and the culture moved the goalposts without telling him. To see what $1 million actually does for you, functionally, mechanically, we have to run a strict audit. We need to take that raw 7-figure number, put it on a ledger, and strip away the fantasy to see what survives in the real world. The first thing we have to account for is the silent erosion of purchasing power. $1 million today does not buy what it bought when the fantasy was created. If you go back to 1980, today's million only has the buying power of about $250,000 back then. The number stayed the same, but the economy hollowed it out. This ledger shows exactly how that remaining value translates into actual income, using the standard financial metric known as the 4% rule. Historically, withdrawing 4% of your portfolio in your first year gives you a high chance of not running out of money over 30 years. 4% of $1 million is $40,000 a year. $40,000 a year is a budget with very real, sharp edges. It means you are still checking the total on the screen at the grocery store before you tap your card. It means you still have a mortgage payment, and you're still deciding whether the trip to see the grandkids happens once this year instead of twice because flights got expensive. Reaching the ultimate financial finish line produces an income that mirrors a standard, unremarkable American salary. After 30 years of work, John has secured the lifestyle of a worker just starting their career. John's paper wealth is functionally separate from his actual bank account. For a typical American reaching this milestone, most of that net worth is trapped inside the walls of the house they live in, or tucked away in retirement accounts they legally cannot touch yet. You can't spend your roof, and the money in a traditional retirement account isn't sitting there like cash in a drawer. If John tries to yank those funds out before he turns 59 and a half, he gets hit with penalties and taxes that take a machete to the balance. This diagram illustrates the first massive future liability waiting for him. The current estimate for what a 65-year-old couple retiring today will spend on healthcare over the rest of their lives is about $345,000. A massive chunk of that hard-earned million is already spoken for by a future version of John who needs 4 daily medications. Then there is the silent business partner who has been on the account the entire time. If that money is sitting in a traditional pre-tax retirement account, the government inherently owns a percentage of it. Every dollar pulled out in retirement gets taxed as ordinary income, and this partner is incredibly impatient. Once John turns 73, a rule called the required minimum distribution forces him to withdraw a specific chunk every single year, whether he wants the money or not, purely so the government can finally collect its tax revenue. Look at the final audited balance. Once you account for the taxes and the restrictions, that 7-figure balance is heavily reduced, resting somewhere around $700,000 in actual, spendable, in-his-pocket dollars. $1 million on paper is largely an illusion. The statement might say $1 million, but the fine print says terms and conditions apply. Subtract the taxes, subtract the healthcare, subtract decades of a couple actually trying to live off the remainder. What is left at the end of this audit isn't a financial dynasty. It's not generational wealth setting the grandkids up for life. It is usually just a paid-off house and whatever happens to be left over. This brings us to Todd, John's neighbor 2 doors down. Todd has the German SUV in the driveway, the boat he uses twice a year, and the kind of manicured lawn that requires a dedicated landscaping crew. Todd perfectly matches the cultural expectation of what wealth is supposed to look like. But all of that visible luxury is entirely propped up by precarious debt. Todd looks 10 times richer than John. Yet he is probably one slow month at work away from his entire lifestyle coming down like a Jenga tower in a mild breeze. Meanwhile, John drives a 10-year-old sedan and wears completely unremarkable clothes. He won the game by being the most patient, least interesting man in the neighborhood, because real wealth is almost always quiet. It's the car that isn't in the driveway and the watch nobody is wearing. John's audited wealth provides a total absence of financial terror. He and Kara hold an income for life, freeing them from the high-stakes calculations and sleepless nights that haunt his neighbor. Financial freedom arrives as a quiet, unremarkable peace. It is the simple act of stepping off the treadmill and realizing the race is finally over, even if there are no fireworks to mark the occasion.